The next topic is embedded firmware development languages. So what are the development languages? Uh, we can use it for developing embedded firmware. You know that firmware is nothing but a software on a hardware chip. So we will see what are the different languages. One is implementing complete firmware on assembly language. This you are already uh, executing several programs in the labs. You are using ARM instruction set and all the Part A programs, whatever you are using, it is completely assembly language. So that is one type. Another type, we can also combine high level language, or you can try to implement um, the complete program in high level language. So if you see the Part B programs, next, whatever the Part B programs you will be studying, there all the programs are written in C, means the entire program is written in C, but that C program is for running the hardware components, not for the applications, GUI applications. It is for the hardware components. You are writing C programs for the hardware components like stepper motor, LCD, CRO, keypad, 7-segment display for that. Okay. So that is, we can implement the program using a subset of C, using embedded C or embedded C++ or any other higher level language with supported cross compiler. We'll come to this cross compiler at the end of this module. Okay. So one is through assembly language, completely writing the program in the assembly language. Another one is completely writing the program in either an embedded C or embedded C++ or other high level language supported by cross compiler. The next type is mixing of assembly and high level language. That is, you are starting in high level language, but somewhere in between you calling the assembly code. Even that is possible. Or you're starting with the assembly code. In between, the starting and ending will be in the assembly code. In between, you can have a high level language. Or the entire program you have in C, and somewhere you're calling an inline function. This you would have studied in C++. Inline function, it's like a macro. So when you call that particular inline function, the code will be written in assembly. The entire program is in C. There is one particular inline function, but the code for that inline function will be in assembly. So that is also possible. So this is mixing of both assembly and high level language. So there are three types: assembly language, completely writing in assembly, completely writing in high level, or mixing of high level and assembly codes. Now let's go to the next type and let us understand the high assembly language, how it is. So assembly language is a human readable notation of machine language. So machine languages are in zeros and ones, which you can't understand. So what they do, they pile up all the zeros and ones and they give name to that. So that is called as mnemonic. So machine language is a processor understandable language. The machine language can be understood by the processor, but not by the user. So machine language is a binary representation and it consists of zeros and ones. All of you know that. Assembly language and machine languages are processor dependent. So I had discussed in the class in the beginning of the semester, the hierarchy of languages. You know that the top is the high level, the next is the assembly, last one is the machine language. Whereas machine language and the assembly language, the bottom and the middle one, uh, they're dependent on the processors and controllers. An assembly language program written for one processor will not work with the other one. So they are dependent, even the same. Machine language is also the same. So now let's go to the next thing, next please slide. Assembly language programming is the process of writing processor specific machine code in mnemonic form. Mnemonic forms are nothing but English words. M is silent here, so we call that as mnemonics. Even this also I had discussed in the class. Even in CO I had discussed. So whatever the machine codes there for the particular processor, you will try to give English words for that. I want to perform an addition. If I want to perform addition using machine level language, it will be sequence of zeros and ones, telling that it is addition. But instead, in assembly, what we do, we give a name for that. We use an English word called as add. So internally, it will be converted into zeros and ones only. So converting the mnemonics into actual processor instruction, just now whatever I said. That is machine language and associated data using an assembler. So what we do in assembly language, we use English words like add, submul. This you would have seen in the second module. And even in the lab programs, we make use of some words like this, rotate or load, store, like that. So all of them are English words. They're called as mnemonics. But internally they are getting converted into machine languages, zeros and ones. So who is converting the assembly code into machine language? Assembler. So assembler will convert your mnemonics into machine language, zeros and ones. So the general format of an assembly language instruction is an opcode followed by operands. The generally it will be like an opcode. So the opcode is nothing but the representation of whatever the mnemonics, whatever we are having, we will convert that into zeros and ones. So that we call it as opcode, and followed by operands, that is the data. So if I tell add R1 comma R2, add is an opcode. Final add will get converted into opcode. So add is a mnemonic. So internally it has got some number that we call as opcode. And R1 and R2, they are the operands, they are the data. So to relate, the opcode tells the processor or controller what to do. So actually it is a mnemonic. It tells the processor. So internally it gets converted into set of zeros and ones. So this tells the processor what to do. And the operands provide the data and information required to perform the action specified. So just I took an example of add R1 comma R2. Add is an opcode which tells the processor it has to perform add. R1 and R2 are the operands. Now, it is not necessary that all opcodes should have operand. So many times you need not have to have opcodes. So there are many instructions which doesn't have an opcode. Probably you would have seen in the second modules, many instructions are there like negating, you doesn't uh, complementing, or some instructions in 8086 we have something like NOP. If you say a best example we can take is NOP. NOP is just an operand. You doesn't append any NOP is just an opcode. You doesn't have an operand for that. So it is not necessary that all opcode like NOP should have operands following them. Some of the opcode implicitly contain the operand. In such cases, no operand is required. The operand may be a single operand, dual operand, or more. You know that we have seen in ARM. There could be no operand like NOP, or we can have two operands or three operands. You can have add R1 comma R2 comma R3. You can have that combination also. So now coming to the next point, next slide, they have taken an example of 8051. Now, just like ARM, even 8051 is one microcontroller. Now let us take an instruction, move A comma hash 30. What is it? It moves the decimal value 30 to 8051 accumulator register. So A is an accumulator. Here 30 is a source, A is a destination, move is the opcode. So what is it? Move is the opcode, A is the A and 30 both are operands. So now what is it? You're trying to move 30 to the accumulator register A. Now here move A is the opcode and 30 is the operand. So all of you know move A is the opcode and 30 is the operand. So now let us see the same instruction when written in machine language. Now we are converting it. The entire thing move A gets converted into the sequence of zeros and ones. So kind of we call this as an opcode. And whatever the 30 is there, it gets converted into the sequence of zeros and ones. So if you add up this, so you know 8421 code. So this is nothing but 16, 8, 4 and 2. If you add this, it becomes 30. 16 plus 8 plus 4 and 2. If you add together, it becomes 30. So the first 8-bit binary value represents the opcode move A, as said earlier. And the second 8-bit value represents the operand 30. Assembly language instructions are written one per line. So we will not be clubbing 2-3 instructions in the same line. So it is always one assembly instruction per one line. So this is whatever the example we took. It's 8051 controllers, just like ARM controllers. So let us summarize. So a machine code program consists of a sequence of assembly language instruction where each statement contains a mnemonic, that is opcode, operand. Now each line of an assembly language program is split into 4 fields. So you know opcode and operand, but we can also have one more field called as label and the other field called as comments. Even this comments you have come across, and this also you have come across something like stop, B, stop. In all the programs, you write that stop, be stop. What is that stop? It is a label. So, uh, label is an optional field. So, in every line may not have a label, or every line may not have a comment. So, these two are optional. Label is an optional field. A label is an identifier used extensively in programs to reduce the reliance on programmers for remembering where data or code is located. So, label will guide where exactly you have to come back, usually used in loops. Label is commonly used for representing memory location. So when once you tell stop, be stop, that stop will go to the stop location. It will be pointing to that label, or jump back, jump forward. This also we have seen in the examples in the second module. We have seen the examples: forward jump and backward jump, uh, the forward branching and backward branching. I think you have come across the examples there, which so definitely it will represent the memory location, address of a program, subroutine or code portion, etc. Now, the maximum length of a label differs between assemblers. Assemblers insist strict formats for labeling. So the length of the label, it could be 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. So it mainly depends upon the assemblers. Now labels are always affixed by a colon beginning with the valid character. So many a times it again, this syntax again depends from processor to processor, may not be all the time, but generally labels will be followed by a colon followed by the sentence. And labels can contain number from 0 to 9, or it can contain special characters. Means labels along with the characters, it can also contain numbers like 0 to 9, and it can also contain special characters like underscore.